Would you like to bet $20 and win $100 at BetMGM regardless of your wager's outcome and get $100 in free wager bucks? Just go to wt.buzz/MGM for more details and find out if you're eligible for this amazing offer.
Wow, we're live. That was a quick intro. Steve Merrill, Lawrence Presman, welcome to WagerTalk Today, everyone. Teddy is he's taking the day off, and so he should. Hardest working man in his house. That is for sure. Steve, thanks for stepping in. Late notice, man. We had Kelly booked for today. She is at her aunt's party. There was a miscommunication. Adam Trigger stepping in for her. Bryan Leonard joining us as well. We're going to talk a lot of college hoops. We're going to talk one NHL game and one NBA game. You've got your big game breakdown. I got the daily presidential address. I'm excited about the show, brother. Steve, how are you, man? We missed you in Vegas. Hopefully you'll come next time.
Yeah, and I like to take some credit maybe for the rumblings, because I think I told Chris Allen, I mentioned it to a couple other people. I was like, we need a preseason football party in August, and it looks like the Detroit office is already looking into that. So great minds think alike, Prez, and definitely we'll make it out there this summer if we get something else going.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking into that. We'll keep everybody posted. I can't guarantee that I will be there this time around, but I will try my best. Steve, before we get into anything, I got to let everybody know right off the bat, I have a 5% play for the Sweet 16. It starts on Thursday. All of our listeners and clients have been following my 5% plays. They're gold, man. Number one most winning play across all handicappers, all sports. For close to 2.5 years, I got a promo code I want to give out. $10 off CBB10. I am also perfect in college basketball 5% plays. Okay, now that that's taken care of, what did I watch yesterday? Because I'm stuck in quarantine. The Clive Davis Netflix documentary. It was spectacular. Man, it makes you, I'm like semi-retired, and now I feel like I haven't done enough in life. That guy's 80 and still working his butt off. Really, really recommend everyone watch that. Just an awesome, awesome show. Dude, what did you learn last night in the wonderful world of sports betting? Anything jump out to you?
Yeah, I'm going to do an NBA big game breakdown here in a little bit, but I want to talk a little bit of college hoops. Of course, we got the Sweet 16 on Thursday and Friday, but we have these other tournaments still going on, and I thought it was interesting that two of the most profitable point spread teams in the country out of 358 Division I teams, they both played last night, and they both covered once again. That's Middle Tennessee, who's now 26-7 against the spread, and NC Wilmington, who's now 22-11 against the spread this year. Both ranked top 8 in spread wins, and they face off tonight in the finals of that CBI tournament. They'll both be playing their fourth game in 4 nights, and they're going to play each other this evening. Combined, these two teams are 48-18 against the number this year. I won't be using the game, but I'll be watching from afar out of interest. Looking at these rankings, though, Prez, something else jumped out to me, though. Normally these are kind of the under-the-radar teams, right? NC Wilmington, Middle Tennessee. Neither one made the tournament, by the way, but they both made a secondary tournament. So I started looking at some of the best point spread teams for the season that made the NCAAs. Iowa was up there at 61%. St. Peter's, who's the Cinderella story this year, they're now 22-9 ATS. So maybe we should have seen the fact that they were a little bit underrated in hindsight as a 15 seed. But the one that really jumped out to me, guys, and I've said this from the start all of last week when I was co-hosting with Teddy, was that I thought the most underseeded team in all the NCAA tournaments this year was the Houston Cougars as a 5 seed. If you looked at the last Sunday's ratings when the brackets came out, they were either a 1 or a strong 2 seed in both the Sagrigades and the KenPom. Talked about this yesterday on the college basketball show here with Dave Koken, Ralph Michaels, Joe Ranieri, that Houston is now number 2 in the KenPoms. Arizona's number 3, and Houston is still a slight dog as a 5-1 in that game this week. And the Houston Cougars now in the season, 24-12 against the spread. And that's one of the second or third best. They've covered by 4.5 points a game. The only team that's covered by a larger margin is Middle Tennessee, who's 26-7. And what's really impressive about Houston, those other teams, a lot of underdog spots, whatever. Houston has won their games by an average of 17 points a game this year, and they're still 24-12 ATS. That means they're covering as big favorites as well. So just once again, some tidbits as we talk about college hoops for the final week. Houston Cougars remain very underrated. I think that's been evident all season. And what's really surprising, Prez, as I throw it back to you, this is a team that made the Final Four last year. You wouldn't have thought a Final Four team would be one of the best point spread teams the following season.
Steve, it's funny. Kelly was supposed to be on the show today. At least I had her scheduled on the show today, but she ended up not being able to do it. She's out of town. But she did text me that her best bet is Houston on the money line. So there's a play for you guys. Houston on the money line. Kelly Stewart is making that bet. Let's bring Adam Trigger and man. What do you have, like 20 minutes notice? Thanks for showing up, brother.
Oh, no problem. Anytime. As long as I can get to a Wi-Fi signal. I think the first time I was on WagerTalk Today, I was at Yankee Stadium. It was like my first day at WagerTalk, and we tried to do it on like Yankee Stadium Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I remember.
It worked out for like 2 minutes, and then went off the rails. But yeah, if I can, as long as I'm not like operating like a vehicle or something at the minute, I'll always make time to come on. And yeah, she called me probably a half hour ago.
Yep.
So
appreciate that, Adam. Couple of quick things, Steve. I don't know if you know this, but after the meet and greet, I took about 16 people to a steakhouse. I covered the food. A really nice gentleman who owns Vivo Tequila Mixers covered the alcohol, and Adam fell asleep.
It's Viva Tequila Seltzer, and they sponsor our show on Wednesday night, The Hustle on WagerTalk TV. Give you a little read there, Prez. There you go.
Okay, well, Adam Trigger fell asleep in the middle of dinner, Steve.
Get out of here.
Swear to God on my life.
No way.
Literally
Prez,
slept.
And he's on West Coast time. It's like 3 hours early. Well, it's 3 hours later, actually. Yeah, it's 3 hours later. You're right.
So we argued about this on a couple different shows. The West Coast might be good for viewing sports, but if you sell sports betting information, the West Coast is not good. I was up at probably 4:45 every morning. So yeah, man, Friday by dinner time, especially after dinner time, and then doing the meet and greet all day, I had to get a little nap in at the table. I think I had multiple. I think someone woke me up, and then I fell back asleep for a few minutes. So yeah, catches up with you out there. I do not like being on the West Coast for sports. I think the East Coast is much, much better. It's my personal opinion.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's pros and cons, right? They get nights on the West Coast. Those Monday night football games are over by 9, and then they can go rock and roll. But I'm with you, Adam. I had full intention of doing these daily presidential addresses while I was out on the West Coast, and then realized I had to have it in by 8:30 in the morning. I was like, yeah, that's a hard no. So I am with you completely. I would rather be on East Coast time myself. What was the second thing? They can't see this weird picture behind you, Adam. It's kind of cut off the screen, but what the hell is that?
Yeah, no, that's you can see it now. That's that's called art, Prez. I don't know. It's we're at my girlfriend's place, and art? I don't know. I had to set up quick. You don't like the picture? I think it's a great photo. And if you can't see it also, I've got the Puck Time t-shirt on here. I don't know. I think I turned the wrong way. But the Puck Time t-shirt, the Puck Time crew came with all sorts of merch for us. So got a nice goodie bag from those guys. You check out their show. I'm not sure what time it's on, but you can plug that.
Before we get into the games, let me show you what art looks like.
Oh my God.
That's Wednesday.
You look alive and well there, Prez. I don't know.
I thought it was Wednesday.
You look just
feeling
fine.
Good. Let's go, guys. NC Wilmington, Middle Tennessee State, -4.5. A couple of fives out there. The total is 136 or 136.5, and there is even a 137. How do we bet this game, Ad?
Well, Steve set this up kind of nicely in the open. You have two of the most profitable teams against the number in the country facing off in the final of sort of the rebranded CBI, which is now all at one location, Daytona Beach, Florida. I like NC Wilmington. I'm going to give Joe Ranieri a shout out, our producer. He kind of turned me on to this team. a month ago, maybe a little bit more. And right around the time that we talked about this team on the college basketball show, they've won 8 of 9. And if it wasn't for a bad couple minutes in the final of that CAA championship game, they're in the NCAA tournament. They kind of like choked that game away right at the end. Since February 3rd, they've lost exactly one game by more than the number here. And that was to Towson, who won the regular season in this conference. So that's the only game they've lost in, almost 2 months now, by more than 4 points. Middle Tennessee State, they compiled that tremendous against the spread record during this season, which has continued on, recently into the CBI tournament. But if you look more recently, they're only 3-4 of their last 7 games, and Josh Jefferson hasn't played since February 26th, who would be considered their best player and was all season long. So they've actually been down a player, and they've kind of gotten by against what I consider to be lesser teams. Last night they were down 7 against Abilene Christian. Abilene went completely cold in the second half, which made that game look like more of a blowout than it actually was. So I think you're getting a nice number here. I think you're getting nice value with UNC Wilmington against the number. Jalen Sims playing tremendous. He would be Wilmington's sort of go-to guy, had 17 points in the win last night. And it's an early tip-off. NC Wilmington got to play the early game yesterday. Middle Tennessee really exerted a lot of effort in the second half. And now they play at 5 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. So give me the points with Wilmington here. I think it's a good bet.
Yeah, Adam, I got to take a little bit of credit for Joe Ranieri. I think he stole that from me. I was on the show and I talked about Wilmington. He had a lot of viewers. Oh, he's buzzing me. I'll give him partial credit. But, what's funny is I did mention that back in January, and we were having fun with it because the winning streak started in mid-December when Wilmington on December 15th beat Mount Olive, a Division III team called Mount Olive, by 30 points. And they won like 10 straight and against the spread right after that. And we had a lot of viewers. I've had a lot of comments on YouTube the last couple of months, people saying, thanks, guys, for pointing out Wilmington. We made a lot of money with them this year. And I got to give Joe Ranieri credit because we talked about it a lot on the show. And then Middle Tennessee, I had to give Gabe Morency credit. He put that on my radar a few months ago as the most profitable point spread team. When we were doing the show live last night, we were trying to find a line. It wasn't out yet. Looks like it opened, as you said, around the 4.5 range. A little bit of money came on to Tennessee. Middle Tennessee, it's up to 5. But what really jumped was the total. I saw it open as high as 140, now down to 136. I think a lot of the logic, as you said, it's a 4th game in 4 nights, no rest for both teams. 2 ways to look at it, right? Tired legs, you don't shoot the outside shot as well. But also, I think a lot of times the defense sometimes suffered when you're tired. How do you think it plays out as far as the total, and how do you think the 4 games and 4 nights affects this game as well?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're going to have some tired legs. These teams have been playing basically like an AAU-style tournament since the weekend. So I definitely think you're tired. Fatigue tends to show up on defense more than it does offense, in my opinion. So I could definitely see it going over. I would agree with that. One thing I'll say about the number, the line moves have been crazy in this tournament. This actually was 4. It was up as high as 5.5 very briefly earlier, back to 4.5. Some of the sharper books at 5. If I can get like a widely available 5, I'll probably make this like a 4% play. So, and I'll tweet that out. So you don't have to guess about that. If I end up releasing it as like a client play, I'll tweet it out.
Adam Trigger joining us, everyone. You can find him at WagerTalk.com. Let's look to the Sweet 16. Michigan playing Villanova, -5. 135 is the total. Where are you going in this game?
Well, first, I just amazing that Michigan will now be playing in their 5th straight Sweet 16. And this year was definitely not a gimme in terms of, kind of people thinking that they would get this far, but here they are. And it makes me go back to something. I feel like we see this every year. You have a team that comes into the season as like a top 5 team, ends up vastly underachieving, during the year. And then we get to the NCAA tournament and all of a sudden they're right there, Sweet 16, Elite 8, like chance to be what everyone imagined they would be. And that this year is Michigan. Top 5 or 6 team in the AP poll this year. They struggled during the regular season, but it really feels like they're playing their best basketball right now. And for this particular game, I think you're going to catch this number with Hunter Dickinson, who should have his way here. I don't know that Villanova has a way to stop Dickinson. For Villanova, they're going to need to shoot the ball extremely well. Of course they can. And they actually might have a nice advantage size-wise against Michigan's guards. But I think the game changer here is going to be Dickinson, potentially on both ends of the floor. Michigan, if Villanova comes out and just hits everything, Michigan will be in trouble. But I think Michigan is scrappy enough defensively where that's not going to happen. And like I said, for me, this goes back to Dickinson having a big advantage on the inside. He's become sort of a game changer. And Villanova, they've been a fade for me most of the year. I thought Ohio State kind of, squandered an opportunity. They had that game down to 2, and they kicked the ball all over the floor on 3 or 4 straight possessions and let Villanova extend that lead. So I like Michigan plus the points. I think they have a great chance to win this game.
Yeah, Adam, do you feel like every year there's one of these, 11 seeds that makes a run? And if there's ever a team that could do it, it's Michigan. I mean, this is a team that was top 4 when the season began. They were theoretically a 1 seed back in November, and they barely get in as an 11 seed. They weren't even a play-in game, though. A lot of times we see these play-in teams make runs very close to being a play-in team, though. With that said, they'd alternated wins and losses since early February. In fact, that Tennessee game was the first time they'd won back-to-back games in a month and a half. They'd been 0-5 straight up in ATS after their other wins. So obviously they got to keep it going here for several more games. What I want to ask you, though, about the pace here. Villanova plays at maybe the 10th, 12th slowest pace in the country. I think they will slow it down here. Michigan is a team that's on the season has played below average pace, but if you look at their success recently, they've been better playing up tempo. And when Martelli took over, I think all 5 of those games were above their season pace rating, and they kind of kept that going here in the tournament games. What's your concern if Villanova slows them down? Do you still like Michigan? This is a slow half-court game.
Well, I do, because I think in this scenario, Dickinson could potentially really just take over in a half-court game, because I don't know that Villanova's got anyone that can really guard him specifically. So what it's going to come down to, though, in my opinion, if it gets to a half-court game, Dickinson's going to have to take over. And if he doesn't, that could be where Michigan gets in trouble. So keep that in mind. It might be a good game to watch in play, see what the pace is going to be like, because I think Michigan's more willing to play slow than Villanova is to play fast. So if you do see Michigan kind of just getting the ball to Dickinson, running some longer possessions, in play under might not be a horrible look, especially if these two teams hit a couple shots early.
Adam Trigger, add anything to promote before we let you go?
Prez, I'm probably going to, if I add a play today, it's going to be Wilmington. I'll tweet it out. You got it here. Tokyo Brandon and I are going to be doing an Asian baseball show, so check that out. And I think we've got baseball packages up for the season. And of course, Prez, go buy your 5% play. There you go. Thanks,
dude. And you should use the promo code CBB10. CBB10. Dude, I love you, Adam Trigger. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. We got Steve's big game breakdown, Bryan Leonard, Art DiCesare, the daily presidential address, so much more. Stay with us, everyone.
Yes, there will be baseball. After a 99-day lockout, we now have a complete 162-game schedule starting with opening day on April 7th. To celebrate the return of baseball, we want to do a wow promotion, so here we go. The first 50 customers will get the full season of MLB, including the playoffs, for just over $3 per day. How much of a wow is this? MLB through the All-Star break is priced at $7.95, and through the World Series is priced at $1,095. But the first 50 customers can get MLB through the World Series for $6.99. No coupon is needed, and this comes out to just over $3 per day. Once we hit 50 redemptions, the super early bird discount will come down, and the lowest possible price to lock in baseball will no longer be available. So act fast before you get shut out on our biggest price drop ever.
It's time for a little big game breakdown for Wednesday night, March the 23rd. We're going to look at the late night ESPN national TV game in the association, the NBA tonight. And just a quick reminder, I'll be back at 4:15 Eastern for the live NBA tip-off show with Joe Ranieri and Tony. Tony's done it again, double Tony episode today on Wednesday. So more in-depth NBA analysis. But one of the big games tonight is the 76ers and Lakers tonight on ESPN, the late night game. And look, the Lakers, they live and die by LeBron right now. There's no question about that. In fact, they'd won 2 games when he scored over 50. They'd lost the other 8 on each side when he didn't score 50. So it was pretty simple how to play the Lakers recently. But they have now won 2 of the last 3 with him putting up 36, 38, and 38. Got to make sure he's playing tonight. You never know with the load management after having his 105th career triple-double on the road in that last game at Cleveland. It was also a huge trip back to Cleveland. Obviously, normally a non-conference road game wouldn't be a big deal, but it was a big deal. So there's we got to keep an eye on the injury report later this afternoon. Another reason to check out NBA tip-off here at 4:15 Eastern. But I do expect LeBron to be in the lineup here because this is a high-profile national TV game against the 76ers, who's one of the teams to beat right now ever since that trade last month, picking up James Harden, who, by the way, did not play in their upset win against the Miami Heat the other night. But I think Philly will be ready to go here. They're in excellent current form. And one thing to keep in mind about Philly, they got off to that fast start against some really bad teams when they picked up Harden in February. And then they came back down to earth and they couldn't beat good teams. They lost to Miami, they lost to Brooklyn, lost to Denver. But they've since beaten Dallas by 10, beaten Miami without Harden at home. It's by 7 as an 8-point dog. Now they take to the West Coast, have a day off to travel. I think the travel situation is negated by the fact the Lakers are coming off of 4 straight road games. They only have 1 day to get back as well. In fact, home teams often are in a bit of a flat spot after being on the road for over a week because you have distractions back at home. So I think the Sixers are going to make a run here on this West Coast trip. I think it starts tonight in a high-profile national TV spot, and we'll take the 76ers. Philadelphia 76ers minus the 7 points goes at 10 o'clock Eastern tonight on Wednesday on ESPN. And quick reminder, nobody has won more in the NBA the past 10 months at WagerTalk.com, up over 90 units of profit. I've got a strong NBA best bet tonight on Wednesday. Nobody's won more the last 2 years since I've joined in college hoops. Number 1 in college basketball the past 2 years in units won. I've got my first 5% NCAA tournament play going this week. You do not want to miss it. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
Love it, Steve. Outstanding stuff. I'm trying to get Malachi Crunch into the show. I don't know how. I just kind of did accidentally. But yeah, do you remember the Malachi Crunch?
Vaguely. I know a lot of stuff, but you're going to have to refresh me on that one.
Guys, anyone remember the Malachi Crunch? Tell us about it in the chat room. Bryan Leonard joining us. Bri, dude, you stepped up for me today. You took my spot on Puck Time. I just didn't have the energy to do 2 shows. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for joining us on Wager Talk today. How are you, my brother?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. Appreciate you getting me back on the show after I missed out on Monday. But it's rare that I listen to a show and hear something I don't expect. But Steve talked about Mount Olive. First thing that popped in my mind was Popeye.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Oh,
olive
okay.
oil.
Olive oil.
Okay.
Sex.
Yeah.
Mount Olive.
The
okay.
the first thing that popped. Sorry, Bri. Anyway, the first thing that popped into my mind was Jesus. But anyway, Bri, before we get into it, I want to ask you something. You're a season ticket holder for the Vegas Golden Knights. What is wrong with this team? Are they going to be able to turn it around? Is it that they're beating heart? Mark Stone is out. They played great last night. They had 45 shots, but something is wrong in Vegas.
Yeah, the expected goals showed that Vegas was the team to beat last night, and they outplayed them. And they've done that many times lately, but they just can't get the biscuit in the basket, as they say. Mark Stone is an awesome player, and he's more of a he's known for being such a great defensive player, and he's a great passer. He's just very good. And Pacioretty's not been playing. Martinez, their best defensive player, has not been playing. And Eichel's been great. Eichel's played very well. He's just got nobody else out there right now.
Yep.
They're really struggling. I think they're done. Last night was a killer. And unfortunately, I had them yesterday, and I thought they were going to bounce back. I thought the line was just too high. But no, they didn't play well, and they just can't get it in the puck, and they just can't get any scoring. The Misfits, who did so well for the last 5 years, this year they just don't have it. There'll be a lot of changes in the offseason. They've got to get rid of some of these high-priced players, and it's going to be different next year come hockey time in Vegas. I think they're done.
Bryan Leonard joining us, everyone. New Jersey Devils on the road tonight playing the Leafs. New Jersey, just an outstanding second period last night. I think they put 4 up in 5 minutes. Fast, young team. A bright future ahead of them. What is going to happen in the game tonight against Toronto?
Yeah, they scored 7 goals in the last 2 periods. You don't see that very often. Playing a second of a back-to-back. I've been making a lot of money betting the New Jersey games over in the first period. I sent this out to you last night. The total was 6.5. Now it's up to 7. So we've lost a half a goal there. So it is a little bit more expensive. But I like the first period. You can lay about 180 on the over, 1.5, or probably laying over 2 is probably better. That way, the only way you lose is if it gets 0 or 1. But you don't have to lay the big number. But I like this game to go over in the first period. You've got a Toronto team that's rested, going against this New Jersey team playing the second of a back-to-back. I see an up-and-down game in the first period, and I see a lot of goals being scored. And these two teams have played twice this year. They've scored 8 and 10 goals. I expect another high-scoring game here. Prefer the first period over the entire game, but I don't have any problems with either way. If you did watch Puck Time today, Andrew liked the over in the game. I like the over in the first period.
It's Bryan Leonard, WagerTalk.com. And don't forget, Bryan, as people focus on March Madness, we sneak in and we make profits in both the NHL and the NBA as well. And I know you do both of those sports extremely well. So I want to ask you an NBA game here. And I talked about hot teams in college basketball, and we had them facing off tonight. Adam Trigger just talked about that Wilmington, Middle Tennessee State game. But there's been no basketball team on earth hotter against the point spread than the Detroit Pistons. In fact, this is a team that started, I believe, 26 and 32 ATS. And then Cunningham comes back full strength. The minute he's back in the lineup in mid-February, they go 13 and 1 ATS their next 14 games. They were an underdog in every one of those games. And then they're a 10-point favorite in their last game all of a sudden after being a dog for 14 straight games. And they lose outright to the hapless Portland Trailblazers. So I got to ask you tonight against the Atlanta Hawks at home, is there still a buy sign with the Detroit Pistons? Was that a red flag, or is that just a bad one-off, role reversal where they're a big favorite all of a sudden they just didn't come focused?
Yeah, a lot of times you'll see that. The team that plays very well is an underdog, and then all of a sudden they're expected to win, especially win by a margin, and they just didn't have it. You see that all the time, and it's something that I think they bounced back a little bit tonight. I like Detroit. I like the way they've been playing. Once they've got all their young players back, they're starting to play better, and we see that in every sport as the season goes on. But the real reason I like Detroit is Atlanta. Yesterday, they go into New York, play at the Garden. Trae Young goes off for 45 points yesterday. Certain players really get up to play at the Garden. LeBron's always been that way. Trae Young's been that way. A lot of it is the New York fans, and obviously, some other players, they get up to play in that historic building. So he goes off yesterday. They come back late. They were down by, I think, 5 points with just a few minutes to go in that game. Come back, win that game going away, and then they host the Golden State Warriors next game out. So they're playing the second of back-to-back. Huge sandwich situation here to go against Atlanta. They played Detroit twice this year. They split those 2 games. Atlanta's not getting excited to go in and play Detroit. Detroit's a young team that has played very well as an underdog. I like the 5 points here with the Detroit Pistons. Give me the Pistons. I think they win this game straight up.
Awesome stuff, Bri. Thanks so much for joining us today. Anything to promote real quick?
No, actually, I'm looking to pass today. Didn't have anything strong enough to release. The games I used here are probably my best plays on today's card, but didn't want to charge anybody for anything that wasn't strong enough. So I'm passing on today. We'll come back and get them tomorrow.
Awesome stuff, Bryan Leonard, everybody. Johnny Hambone. He writes the Malachi Crunch. That's when the Malachi brothers,
I remember now,
with Happy Days at the Demolition, they were going to do the Malachi Crunch against the Fawns. And if you guys follow me on Twitter, at Prez Wager Talk, you know I am obsessed with the Fawns. Anyway.
Pinky Tuscadero, Prez. Just want to make it clear. I do very well remember that episode. And I told you, I knew the term. I just couldn't figure all that stuff in my head from 40 plus years. But yeah.
So Steve, what was Pinky's move?
Man, it's been a long time since I've seen that episode.
So Leather Tuscadero was 2 hits on the bottom, and Pinky was this. That was the Pinky Tuscadero. Yes, I am pathetic at a high level. Art DiCesare, nice shirt, bro.
Gentlemen, good morning. Yeah, dude, I gotta rock the puck time, man. You gotta do it. I mean,
Yeah,
this
appreciate it.
absolutely, dude. I was so happy to meet a bunch of those guys over the weekend, and they gave out some great gear. And that hoodie is beautiful. I love that hoodie.
I had one for about 3 minutes, and then someone took it when I came to say goodbye to you. But it was a good 3 minutes. I mean, we bonded for those 3 minutes. The craziest thing is, whoever took it might have COVID now. So,
Nice.
to you. Anyway, Art DiCesare, thank you so much for allowing us to have our meet and greet at your establishment. It was an incredible day. It was wonderful seeing you and Jay, and man, the turnout was phenomenal, but more importantly, the whole Westgate turnout. It was standing room only, chock-a-block, as my parents would say. What an outstanding day, dude. Thanks for having us.
Oh, I mean, listen, I'm glad you said it, man. It felt like old Vegas, man. It felt like what the tournament should feel like. A lot of energy in the room, a lot of people. You guys posting up at the clubhouse was great. I saw so much on Twitter where so many people were so happy to meet their favorite WagerTalk person. So that was great. And it felt great to have the energy in the building. That's always the best part of being in a sports book, working in a sports book, or going to bet in a sports book is the energy in the room. And there was a lot of it this weekend.
Art, speaking about this weekend, let's start right off the bat with, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, college basketball. How did the books do over that 4-day period?
There's no other way to say it. We killed it. We did really well. When you look at the tournament, and I've said this a lot on these shows, college basketball really is a sharp sport. The sharp bettors are in it from November through the tournament. But the NCAA tournament, especially those first 4 days and especially those first two, it's so public. People are coming into town to have fun, to bet. They haven't watched college basketball till maybe a week after the Super Bowl, or haven't watched college basketball at all. So it's just, the lines are sharp. There's so many games that we end up doing really well. Obviously, some of the big upsets that happen, when a St. Peter's wins, it kills everything for the day with money lines and teasers and all the stuff. Kentucky's knocked out of there. So it was a really good 4 days for us at the Sportsbook.
So, Art, I got to ask you, how's it looking in the future handle? And I got to know, did anybody have a ticket on St. Peter's? I mean, did someone come from Jersey City vacationing and put $10 down on them? And is there any liability with Gonzaga and Duke? We talked to some other directors last week. Teddy and I talked to someone on Friday. Auburn, I think, was bad for him too. So I guess that might have been good for you guys, Auburn getting bumped. But Duke and Gonzaga sounded like where there was some liability for some other sports books. What about the Westgate?
Yeah, I would throw Duke in there. A little bit of liability at Duke. There's a little bit on Arizona. We're also getting to a point where Houston's becoming a problem. We had a guy come in and lay 5 figures on Houston at 12.5 to 1 to win it. This was a couple of days ago. We've now moved them to 10 to 1 to win it. I mean, if you just look at Houston, they're probably the most criminally underseeded 5 seed in the history of this tournament. Just look at the computer numbers. Ken Pom has them second. He has them above Arizona, who they're playing. I mean, if they can get by Arizona, they're better than Michigan and Villanova, probably favored over those two teams. And then they're in the Final Four. Obviously, the Arizona game is going to be a very hard game. We know how good Arizona is. But Houston now is starting to become something we got to keep our eye on here.
One of our listeners, Demon Slayer, no offense, Vegas is disgusting. I don't think Vegas is capable of taking offense to that, brother. Vegas is a pro now. Vegas. Yeah, I
Vegas
don't even
invented disgusting.
What does that even mean?
Every city's got some disgusting.
Anyway, Art, great info on Houston. I love that our listeners heard that from you. I wanted anything else that you've noticed coming into this weekend? Any other big bets? Any other sort of college basketball games that you think our clients should jump on?
When I just look at the 8 games and I look at kind of where the money's come in and what the movements have been, there's really been movements on everything, whether it's a half a point or even anywhere from, a point and a half, 2.5 points. The biggest move is the Miami game. We opened Iowa State -1. It's now Miami -2.5. So it's been nothing but you money. A lot of money coming in on Miami. Miami has been a very popular pick. The way they dominated Auburn. Iowa State, too. I understand they're here. They haven't looked that great. So a lot of Miami money early, a lot of liability on Miami. I know you guys touched on it with Trigger, the Michigan Villanova game. That's the only game that we've seen no movement on. We opened Villanova 5. It has stayed at 5. Like I said, every other game has moved. That game's got no movement. So that's interesting that there's no movement on that. Gonzaga has taken good money. Open Gonzaga -8. It's now 9.5. People are not afraid to lay the money with Gonzaga. They feel maybe they kind of got their scare in the first half against Memphis, woke up. It's hard to like what you've seen out of Arkansas. They've played two lower teams in Vermont and New Mexico State and barely skated by both of them. So you've seen good Gonzaga money there and UNC money against UCLA. I think that's a couple of things. I think UNC is just a name brand who takes money, but I think the injury to Johnny Zhejiang is huge. So I think eventually we'll get some UCLA money because now it's gone to 2.5 where it was 3.5. But early on, UNC money in that game.
Yeah, you guys opened 3.5. He briefly touched fourth at Westgate, I think, and now it's down to 2.5 with UCLA. And also one that jumped out to me, Art, was that Texas Tech, a solid 1-point favorite. That doesn't look like it's moved too much against Duke. Duke, until they covered against Michigan State, were 9-2 straight up, 3-8 ATS, their previous 11. Just quickly wanted to ask you about that one. I mean, Duke's been such a public team. They can't lose the ACC final with Krzyzewski. They can't lose the conference tournament with Coach K. They can't possibly lose now to Texas Tech with the Gonzaga game on deck. What are your thoughts on that one real quick?
And they can't lose Coach K's last home game against UNC, right? And they get blown out of the building in that game, right? There's so many of that. I think so many people are like feeling that they're just going to put Coach K into the Final Four. They're going to let him ride, all this type of stuff. Texas Tech, who I love, I actually put them in my Final Four. They don't score, which kills you, but they play a lot of defense. Once again, going back to the computer numbers, Tech 6, Duke number 9. So Tech opening as a slight favorite is not shocking to us. It might be shocking to the public. But right now on that game, pretty good split action. You know you're going to take Duke money because Duke always does take money. But that game sitting right now at 1 has pretty good split action on the game.
Art DiCesare, everyone. Westgate Superbook supervisor Art. Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins. Where did that come from? You think
is that real?
That's what I'm being told in the chat room. Just went to the Dolphins. The trade just happened. A couple of guys are putting that up right now. That's not going to move any lines, is it? Maybe on the Chiefs.
Yeah, maybe on the Chiefs. And, now the Dolphins signed that big tackle from the Saints. They get Tyreek Hill. If that's real, we got to see what happens. But it could move a little bit. Normally just the quarterbacks move everything. But that's a pretty big trade. Tyreek Hill is one of the 2, 3, 4 best weapons. Yeah, he's a playmaker. Yeah. That's a huge weapon for the Dolphins to get, yeah.
Yeah, and not only that. Sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
No, I said they've been missing some speed. I mean, that's a playmaker. I think, like you said, that's a blow to the Chiefs maybe. And the markets will decide, right, Prez? The markets will determine what it's worth in the betting markets, I guess.
4 years, $120 million. Wow. And it's a big deal because he's really the guy that opens up the space for Kelsey, as I call him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Guys, one of our best listeners ever, Abid. It's his 39th birthday. Happy birthday, Abid. We love you. We see you every day on here. I hope you have a wonderful day and you feel a lot of love from all of your family.
Seriously,
and
he's one of
friends.
the best. We got some real positive guys out there. He's one of the best. So happy birthday.
Agreed. Art, real quick, NHL, NBA, do you see anything for our listeners to bet tonight?
I could throw you one in each sport. NBA, we've seen some good money coming on the Hornets. Obviously, the Knicks are off a back-to-back. Hornets were 7. We now have them 8. The Knicks are just horrible. I don't know how you ever bet on the Knicks. And then in the NHL, a little bit of duck money coming in. It hasn't been anything crazy, but it went from 115 to 120. So little bit of duck money. Obviously, every other game in the NHL is a big money line. And then I know you guys touched on it with Bryan Leonard. You're seeing that 7 there sitting there with the Devils and the Leafs, which is always interesting when you see a 7.
Yeah, Art, I want to speak to you about that quick. You know, I say this to Teddy all the time. We talk about it regularly. Take the biggest totals over, the smallest totals under. You'd end up a winning better. People are afraid of grabbing these 7s in hockey. This system works in all sports. I don't ever remember seeing a 7.5 in a hockey game. I don't ever remember seeing a 4 in a hockey game. There's ceilings and there's floors. Do you feel the same way? You know, you could just blindly take these 7s over or the 5s under, and you should be a winning better.
I totally agree in hockey. They're priced and put at that specific number. I remember, and this is me as a Rangers fan, when they were playing Classic a couple of years ago, like 5 years ago, against the Capitals in the playoffs, where Lundqvist was basically at his best. Those totals were 4.5, and the game would always end 2-1. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I'm with you. When you see those 5s or 4.5s or 7s in hockey, you have to either go over or under. I think over time, that actually is a winning system. Yeah, you get scared to be like, damn, I need this game to be 5-3. Yeah. I mean, but yeah, it's going to happen. That's why it's a 7. So I'm with you. I think over time, yes, you will see profit on those.
Hey, Prez, real quick on that. You know, I don't think Ralph Michaels' database Dare does ice hockey. It freezes up. But he had baseball last year, and he put this up, and we talked about it last year. 7 of the previous 8 baseball seasons, blindly playing under 6s made money. 7 of the previous 8 seasons. I don't remember how it did last year, but I mean, it definitely works. No question about it.
100%. Art, last question. I know we're up against it. Have you taken an MLB futures bet that we should know about?
I mean, nothing crazy. We did have a respected guy come in yesterday and take under 91.5 on the Tampa Bay Rays win total. I thought that was interesting. So we did take that. Number didn't move, but it was a guy that we respect, and he took under 91.5 on the Rays. I thought that was pretty interesting. Obviously, that's a loaded division. Tampa's going to be good. The Red Sox will be right there. Obviously, the Yankees will too. And Tampa's a good team as well. So I was a little shocked by that, but that was that guy's opinion.
Art DiCesare, everyone. Art, anything quickly to promote?
You know what? Nothing to promote, but I will say this because we're talking about birthdays. It's my mother's birthday, the love of my life, the greatest woman in the world. So I just want to say happy birthday, Mom, and I'll be talking to you later.
Love of my life as well, Art. Get out of here, my brother. Happy birthday to your mom. Thanks for coming out. It's time, Joe. Let's go. Daily Presidential Address. Okay, guys, we went 1-1 in our free picks yesterday. New York Rangers let us down, but the Dallas-Edmonton game did go over the total. I got 2 NHL bets for you guys today. I just want to let everyone know I have a 5% play in college basketball for the Sweet 16. Make sure to grab it. I am perfect this season on 5% plays in college basketball. I'm also on a 14-5, 5% run across the board. I got a promo code for you guys. Use the code CBB10. That's CBB10. You get $10 off of my 5% play. As for your free picks tonight, I like the Vancouver Canucks and Colorado to go over the total. A lot of the guys in the chat room said, Prez, give us a total to bet. There's your NHL total to bet, over the total of 6. However, I like the Anaheim Ducks better than that, minus 125. I know they're on a big losing streak, but I think they're going to turn it around tonight. They're going to get us a W. So take Vancouver and Colorado over and take the Anaheim Ducks at minus 125. I'm on a 17-4 NHL run. I got an NHL play up for you guys tonight at WagerTalk. What a great show. Shout out to Steve Merrill, late minute step in for Teddy. and Adam Trigger, late minute step in for Kelly, Art DiCesare, Bryan Leonard, Steve Merrill. Take us home, my friend.
Yeah, we'll do it again tomorrow on Thursday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, as always, right here on WagerTalk TV. And don't forget, Prez, if you missed the live show, when I'm hosting for you, you can always watch it 24/7, 365 right here on the channel. You can also listen to the podcast versions on your favorite podcast app. Don't forget to check out WagerTalk.com. Prez mentioned the big play. I've got a 5% of the NCAA Tournament, 3 best bets for Thursday. Also, check me out on NBA Tip-Off at 4:15 Eastern here with Joe Ranieri and company. He'll also be on at 1:45-ish for the college basketball show. In the meantime, hit subscribe so you never miss these shows. Hit the bell if you want instant alerts. Give it a thumbs up, like, and comment below. And check back tomorrow, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Best of luck tonight, and enjoy the games.
Yes, there will be baseball. After a 99-day lockout, we now have a complete 162-game schedule starting with opening day on April 7th. To celebrate the return of baseball, we want to do a wow promotion, so here we go. The first 50 customers will get the full season of MLB, including the playoffs, for just over $3 per day. How much of a wow is this? MLB through the All-Star break is priced at $7.95, and through the World Series is priced at $1,095. But the first 50 customers can get MLB through the World Series for $6.99. No coupon is needed, and this comes out to just over $3 per day. Once we hit 50 redemptions, the super early bird discount will come down, and the lowest possible price to lock in baseball will no longer be available. So act fast before you get shut out on our biggest price drop ever.